So, how are these Supreme Court decisions being processed by Latinos? And particularly, I want to hear your take on folks in like the South Florida area, many of whom supported this president and, maybe feeling betrayed in some ways. Now, tell me what you're hearing.
So I would say that was one of the big stories of 2024, right? This idea that 45% of Latino voters voted for Donald Trump. In a place like Miami-Dade County, which is where so many of these migrants are coming from, Venezuelans, Cuban Americans, and Nicaraguan Americans were, I would say, responsible for Donald Trump flipping Miami-Dade County. And so the way I see it is Donald Trump, in a way, wins that election because he cast himself as this anti-communist hero. He said himself that he was the victim of communism, and here he is, threatening to deport Cubans and Venezuelans back to these communist regimes. Here he is, threatening to deport Haitians back to a country that is so dangerous that in 2024, over 5,000 people died because of gang violence. And so the question is, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, this to me is not surprising at all that Donald Trump is doing something like this. Now, this is part of his larger plan, but the question is back to those Latinos that you're talking about. How will they react? And when they see their fellow Cubans that fled from the very same countries that they fled from, will that change at all? Will that make them think in any way? And sadly, I'm not sure.
It's too late. I mean, what are they going to do about it now? Nothing. It's like you're just hoping that they're going to mobilize and vote in the midterms.
We'll see in 2026, but I mean, they can be out there protesting. I mean, there's things to do.
Which they're not doing, is what you're saying. They're not out there yet. Well, I mean, this just happened like a couple of days ago. So obviously the momentum behind it, the organization behind it.
Sort of happened a couple of days ago.
Well, specifically for Cubans, it just happened a couple of days ago.
Well, Trump has been trying to get this through for a while. It's just that the Supreme Court finally green-lit it. It's not like a surprise.
The thing with Cubans that's interesting is that Cubans have had a very different relationship with immigration because of this very privileged pathway to citizenship. And so this is perhaps for the first time ever that Cubans are finding themselves part of the immigration debate. When they see that fellow Cubans like them are being deported and are being racially profiled, and that's new. And that's the
person I actually really want to talk to about this would be Rubio.
Yes.
100%.
So both of us are descendants of people who fled communism in Cuba. And, Rubio speaks about what's happening in Cuba as an emergency, as a violation of human rights. So to, in a way, facilitate the return of your own people to a place that you say is unfit.
Well, Rubio was also one of the champions for Venezuelans in the Senate to get TPS. And now
immigration reform, and he was with the Dreamers. But that is, I mean, at this point.
At this point, he has sold his soul. He has sold his soul to be a part of this administration, which, is something you and I have talked about, little Marco Rubio in the past. I mean, he was, to all of the points that have been raised, somebody who took principled positions, even in the war in Russia and Ukraine. This was a guy who stood up to Russia, and he did all of this for a seat at Donald Trump's power table.
He has this escalated investment in the Trump administration, right? So he was on the path of being a fairly decent person when he had to run for office and get elected. And then as soon as he switched over and became Secretary of State, he's now looking at it as, where am I most included? And where he's most included is in the seat of power that Trump wants him to continue to carry out. What I'm more concerned about right now is the story that's not totally making it out there, which is that Marco Rubio announced that they're going to have an Office of Remigration.
Yes.
That term remigration, in 2019, when it first started coming up, the Associated Press called that akin to a soft ethnic cleansing. It's the idea that you would deport anyone who does not uphold what Donald Trump considers to be Western values, and you could go back as far as you want. As it was, he was already trying to challenge birthright citizenship. They were already on the birtherism thing all the way back to 2008. So what I'm looking at is what Marco Rubio is doing with this office, who that will affect, and how late is it for everyone? Is he going to go back 2 generations? Is he going to send my family back to Albania? What will it be, and who will be targeted next?
I also wonder about the people who are here following the law, coming in the right way, all of the things that the MAGA people say that they want from immigrants, right? They don't hate all immigrants. They just hate the criminals and the gangbangers, not the people who are coming in legally. And yet we have, besides, these people in TPS or who were paroled in, having their protection stripped away and their work permit stripped away, we also have people being arrested when they show up to court or show up to regular ICE immigration check-ins. These these are not the people that ICE needs to hunt down because they are criminals. They are voluntarily showing up because that's what they're supposed to do. They're following the law. I wonder, what do you think this means for compliance? Like, it's going to drive people into the shadows, no?
Well, of course, yeah. It's logical. If these are people that in good faith are showing up to the courthouses, they're abiding by the law, and now, of course, they're scared to be snatched up and kidnapped by ICE. But then if you're the Trump administration, you're thinking about two things. Now, number one, you need those numbers to go up. No, they are obsessed with following
3,000 a day.
3,000 a day. But I think if you're Stephen Miller, what really, really bothers you is still this idea that Barack Obama will always win the label of being deporter-in-chief, and that really bothers them. Now, this idea that the Obama administration deported over 3 million undocumented immigrants, which means that's around 1,000 undocumented immigrants being deported per day. And so that is this obsession that someone like Stephen Miller has. And you've written about this, right? This idea that they have to sustain the moral panic that got them elected. Now, this idea that it is that invasion and those bad people, we as Americans need to protect ourselves from the other. And so those detentions, those ICE raids, all of that is part of that narrative that sustains what got Donald Trump elected.
So I was going to say, we started, and you brought up a really good point about the expansion of this remigration. Mm-hmm. And ideologically speaking, it started with, right now they're trying to find people who are undocumented, and then it looks like it's going to permeate more into the area of what type of ideological people are in this country that we don't like. And that's the dangerous, slippery slope that we're going down. I'm curious to get your thoughts on where do you see this rubbing up against the law at any point? Because they're doing it first with green card holders whose speech they don't like. Marco Rubio is saying, like Mahmoud Khalil, we don't like the way he spoke or led protests. Somebody wrote an op-ed. And it's doing it in an area where people are like, I don't know much about it, I don't want to weigh in on it. But it's going to slowly expand, as we saw this week with Chinese students in this country.
I think it's already coming out because it's not about coming here the right way. It's coming here the right way and being the right type of immigrant that he's decided is going to fit into their narrow version of Western values, right? So now it's not students. If you're coming here from China to study at Harvard and lend all of your research to the United States of America's betterment, no, that's not the right kind of immigrant. If you're coming here as a doctor, if you're coming here as a worker, a lot of these folks come and do essential jobs, construction, labor jobs, home care jobs,
agriculture,
things that we're pulling people out of, and there is no one to replace them.